Hi, welcome to another one of my videos. Today is my first video on a Porsche 928 S4 that I've just bought. It's a really cool car. It's a 91 Japanese import, left-hand drive. Quite a rare thing to find in the UK, and I thought it'd be a good opportunity to try and brush up my YouTube skills and do a few videos on it and do a bit of 928 content. I've owned loads of 928s over the years and I really love them. So it's cool to be back in one again. So the first job is to refoam the speakers from the car. You can't buy replacements anymore, and because of the design of these speakers, which I'll talk about later, it's not straightforward to replace them with an aftermarket speaker. So you either have to cut these up and use the frames if you want to maintain the original grills, or just have something that's a bit ill-fitting and quite frankly bodged in. So my solution for it, rightly or wrongly, is going to be to replace these foams. So let's go into the car and have a look at how we're going to take these out of the car, and some pointers along the way so that you don't damage things. So as you can see, I've taken out the passenger side. It's a left-hand drive car, and I've still got the ones on the driver's side to take off. But I thought I'd show you first how to safely remove these grills, because they're very easy to snap. Basically, the plastic surround on the grill is very brittle, and if you don't take them off in a very specific way, you can snap the grill. Now, they're quite easy to take off, but you have to know exactly how to do it. So I'm just going to show you the grill, and what you can see is there's 3 little cutouts, these things. So you have to try and find where those are, and you need to get something like a plastic trim tool like this, and you just need to locate the cutout and try and slowly pop it up, but in a way that's very sympathetic to the age of the plastic. So if you look on, I can show you on this one. So if we look at this, what I tended to do was, you can kind of run the trim tool behind it. You can feel where the cutout is. So that's the top one. But also, this car's got a full leather interior, and I really don't want to damage it. So you can see it's already made a mark there. That'll rub off. But a good thing to do is take something like a plastic credit card and wedge that behind the speaker first. You have to be patient with it, but it will pop off. It's going to take me a bit of time. I'm not going to do it because it doesn't need to be done, but that's the general idea of it. And then the reason for refoaming the speakers and not actually just replacing them, which a lot of people do, is first of all you have to damage the baskets, because the speaker is in a plastic housing, but also the cutout here is not really designed for a 6-inch speaker. So the framework on the back of a standard 6-inch speaker would catch on this, and it'd mean that you've either, the only option that you'd have is to cut this away or to hammer it back, which again, significantly invasive on a nice old car like this. And then the same on these ones. The space you've got behind there is very shallow, and modern speakers tend to have a big deep magnet on the back, which means that the only option that you've got for a replacement speaker is a shallow backed smaller magnet speaker, which is probably not going to be as good as the original Blaupunkt ones that are fitted. And also you have to damage the plastic housing, which you'll see later on in the video. You have to hacksaw that to bits to to fit a replacement speaker if you do want to retain the original grills, which I do. So let's just have a look at taking the sub out now. Right, so it's quite simple, just 4 screws. So just going to unscrew the 4 screws. Put them somewhere safe. You don't want to lose those. So the screws are out, but you'll find that it's still stuck. So with the full leather option, I don't know if the factory just applied a little bit of glue in there to keep the leather nice and tight behind the speaker. I'm not too sure, but it's stuck on the leather, and obviously we don't want to damage that. So again, you need a trim tool or something thin like this, and you just want to slowly try and prise the speaker away from the leather. It will come. There you go. So, and once you've got a gap behind it, you can work your way around and just gently take it out. So if you do undo your screws and you find that it's stuck like this, persevere with it and take your time. Don't just rip it out, because you'll end up doing irreversible damage to this lovely interior. So the speaker's out, and now what we need to do is find the connection, which is just there. That's going to be fun, putting that back. It's interesting to see actually perforation here, so it makes me wonder if this is like old stock leather that Porsche had, and they've just used it for this panel. It's weird to see. I don't know why they'd have those perforations, but anyway, the speaker's out, and you can see it's got a crossover on the back and a plastic, I think they call it a basket or a spider, I'm not too sure, and a relatively shallow small magnet. So this is why it's really hard to basically find a replacement for the factory speakers. So it's easier to refoam them. So there we go. So that's that one out. Let's take these old bits of rotten foam out. God knows where that plug's gone. That'll be fun trying to find that. I'm sure it's up there somewhere. So there we go. So the next one to take out is the one up here. So just move the camera and you can have a look at when you're doing that. So the same process as before. The rear screw, this one is a little bit difficult to access. You need a stubby screwdriver really, but I'm being lazy. Now the front door speakers are exactly the same as these rear ones, so they also need to come out. But on mine, I did actually have some drivers that were the correct size for them. So my front door speakers I've modified, so they've got the same grills and housing, but they've got a modern speaker in there. Now the plan, because I bought 4 foam rings, the plan will be to find a second-hand rotten pair of door speakers and refoam them and replace the ones that I changed the speakers in, because I prefer for it to be original all round. And I'll post links to where I got the foam rings from. They were just off Amazon, but I'll post some links in the description below so you can have a look at that and buy your own. £16 with next day delivery, so not particularly expensive. Should be an easy DIY repair. So these connectors are a bit tight, so that'll all give me a chance to clean all this leather as well before the speaker goes back in. And we're going to refinish these grills. Oh, I didn't explain how to take these grills off, but these are quite self-explanatory. They've got one tab here, and if you can find this tab, you just prise it up, and you can slowly work your way around with your fingers. These ones come off quite easily. These are more of a challenge, and you really don't want to break these because they're hard to... An undamaged grill like this is hard to find, and they're quite expensive. You know, if you need 4 of them, it's about £50 each, so 200 quid that you really don't want to have to spend if you don't need to. I am going to repaint these as well, so I'm going to sand them and try and get some shape back into these and repaint them, so they should look really nice. So yeah, let's go back in the house and start to take these foams off. Okay, so now they're out of the car, let's have a look in a bit more detail. You can see on the base drivers, which are a 6-inch base driver, the foam's completely deteriorated. There was literally nothing left of it when I took it out of the car. So physics dictates that these speakers, as they currently are, just can't move any air because of the gaps in them. Just looking at the back of them, out of interest, there's a pass-through connector, and then there's a crossover here, and quite a small magnet. They're made by Blaupunkt. Definitely no longer available. But yeah, they're quite an interesting speaker. And then the 4-inch mid-range speakers. These are from the rear of the car. Absolutely ruined. So it'll be nice to get these all repaired, and hopefully, I mean, that one's intact, but it's so brittle it just falls apart in your hand. But yeah, hopefully when I've got the new foams fitted, it should sound pretty awesome. So what tools do you need to do this? Oh, the basic idea is to try and scrape it off and create a clean edge for the new foam to adhere to. So I'm going to use a screwdriver, maybe a wire brush, but what I'm bound to use is some of these razor blades. Now you have to be really careful not to tear the paper. But yeah, the idea is you just go at it like this, and eventually have a nice clean surface to work from. So you can see I've started to peel away some of the residue here, and it's coming off quite well. So I've just got to continue to do that. So I'll do a time lapse, don't want to bore you all to tears. But yeah, I'll stick a time lapse on and we'll go through the rest of this speaker. After removing it with the different scraping tools that I've got, I used some thinners. It's not hot dog water, it is actually thinners, to just try and get the last of the residue off and clean the surface, and that's worked quite well. Obviously this is very, very poisonous, so be careful with it. And yeah, you'll have to find your own method. This is the method that works for me, but it is just a case of scraping and making sure that you've got a nice flat, clean substrate to mount your new foams onto. If you've got any questions, or you want to tell me that I'm doing it wrong, or you want to give me any feedback, you can leave a message in the comments and I will respond. He's very interested, isn't he? Mazzy, do you want to help? Right, so I've done the first one. I'm going to do the other 4 off camera. These are all done now and looking pretty good. Does take a bit of time. You have to get all the residue off, because you've really got to have good contact on the new foams. Any air escaping around there is going to cause problems. But yeah, so there's a nice close up on the 4 of them done. Might need a little bit more tidying here and there, but I'm generally quite happy with those. So once the new foam rings arrive, then I can get cracking on and get those fitted. Most of the residue's off now, and I think I've got a good enough surface for the new ones to adhere to, so should be fine. This speaker has got a bit of waving going on it, on this cone, so I need to see if I can get it a bit straighter somehow, but I think it should be okay. Video to show you how I'm going to try and flatten out these edges. I don't know if it's going to work, but you'll find out in part 2. See how I got on with that. But basically I've cut a circle in a piece of fairly thin card and taped it around the inside of the cone to try and force the cone up into a cone shape. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet the cone, because it's just made of paper. So I'm going to spray a load of water on there, wet it, and let it dry out in the sun, and I'm hoping that I can get some shape back into it, but we'll see what happens. So that's the water applied. So the next thing I've got to do is try and find a mug or something that's got a similar diameter to sit on there to put weight on it. Hopefully I've not ruined the speaker by putting too much water on it, but we shall see. Okay, so that seems to be all right. So let's take it outside and see how I get on. So that seems to have worked really well. So I'm going to leave that to dry and call it done, I think. So my foam rings haven't arrived yet. If you want to see the rest of this video and see the project completed, subscribe to the channel and you'll get an alert to say that I've uploaded a new video. But probably in the next few days I'm going to try and get a video out of me fitting the rings and then installing them into the car. Hope you enjoyed watching, and see you around for the next one. Thanks.